everyone, welcome back to Hedgehog Hollow. Today we are back talking about alcohol markers and the papers you can use them on. So here I have these classic Spectrum Noir markers. So we talked last week about the Illustrator version. This is their classic selection. So I have industrial and I have hues. So we're going to grab both of those out. The pen shape is the same. You'll notice the difference is the color of the pen. So the Illustrator was a beige pen from memory, and these are a black pen. And the difference being that these have a chisel and a brush nib. The Illustrator, I think, had the two different nibs. So they had the brush, so these have a chisel and a fine, the others had the brush and the fine. But one thing I really wanted to cover off with you today, and lots of you love the idea of creating that background technique, and we're going to be having more of those techniques as well. And if you join our craft challenge, which I'm going to add links in the video description for, or you can go to thecraftchallenge.com, we talk a lot more about alcohol markers, how to use them, the different papers, and lots of tips becoming an expert colorer as well in just 14 days. And you don't ever have to have picked up a marker before. But I think we talk a lot about techniques, we talk a lot about the inks we use, but we don't talk a lot about the papers we use. So I'm going to be using these amazing pens here, and they really are nice. Look at this industrial collection. I love that they added some of those like grey blues in there. We've got our neutrals. We have a nice selection of greys. I love doing monochromatic colouring. If you're interested in that being next week's video, let me know and I'll show you how to do some monochromatic colouring. We've also got the hues here. And here you can see these are really nice bright colours. So I think I'm going to use these ones this week. And I am giving a set of each of these pens away as well. So if you want to find out how you can win those, go check out, of course, the blog post underneath, or go to thehedgehoghollow.com and you can find out the information on how to win a set and where we're going to be giving those away. So I have a ton of different papers here. I have Spectrum Noir's own paper. I have a piece of the Tonic Ultra Smooth White, which I really like. I have Express It Copic paper, and I have a few other papers as well. I'm also going to grab just a couple of different shades out of here. I'm going to grab the 3 ice greys, like this. What do we have? 7. There we go. That's a blue grey. And what I want to show you is why the paper is so important. And you can see here I've got a ton of different papers. Now my personal preference favourite is the Tonic Ultra Smooth White. And one thing you're going to notice about a lot of these papers is they do vary in colour. Some of them are more yellow. The Express It White is ultra white. It's been bleached. Let me grab out a sheet of the Spectrum Noir paper as well that I have here. And I'm going to add this in. So really your paper choice is going to affect a lot of things, and it might, you know, the Tonic Ultra Smooth is my favourite, but sometimes I'm going to use those other papers for various reasons. Tear this out here as best as I can. So it comes in a pad of 30, and of course this is their recommended paper to get the best results from their pen. So let's start with this one first of all. So you're going to notice it's a pretty matte surface, but it does have a sheen to it, and when you feel it, it feels really smooth, and that's important when we're using markers because it allows our marker to glide over the paper. So you can see, you just get that nice glide. You're not getting any catching, any scratching, which you're going to get with some papers. And I'm going to go on the other side here. And you're going to see it absorbs the ink nicely as well. Now I need a second piece to put underneath, so I'm just going to grab myself a little patch here. You always want something porous underneath. And I'm just going to do a brief blend. So this is my 3. I'm going to go chisel first, just because I want to cover an area. So whenever I'm doing a blend, my first thing is I want to lay down lots of colour to the point where I can see that same area on the reverse. And what you'll notice is when I've got to that point, this side of the paper, my right side, also looks really nice and smooth. So I'm pretty much there, apart from the middle, where you can also see it looks a little bit lighter. So I'm going to lay more ink down in the middle. And of course, once the paper is saturated, it needs somewhere to go. And that's why we have this underneath. And this could just be regular printer paper. It doesn't have to be a piece of cardstock. Again, if you want to find out all the details and all of my tips for this, you can join the craft challenge at the next presentation. I'm now going to add some more. Maybe I'll go a little bit further. Now, normally I'd spend a lot more time doing my blend, but I kind of just want to do one and show you how this blends out. Like so. This is super dark. I mean, if I was actually blending myself, I probably wouldn't have chosen 3 colours quite as dark. But what I'm doing here is because I have that nice saturation of ink underneath, I can make sure I'm blending out nicely. I'm trying to get a nice ombre as best as I can, quickly. Whoops, that would be why my colours didn't blend properly, because I used them in the wrong order. See, even if you craft full time, all the time, you sometimes still use the wrong colours. But you can still see my darkest at the top. This is my mid shade in the middle here. And now I'm fading it out to my lightest. That's not bad. There's a little bit of a line in there I'd like to have got rid of, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. So you can see how it nicely fades, and you should be able to see a nice representation on the side. I laid down a little bit too much colour. I wouldn't normally get this amount of bleeding, but this is a pretty porous paper. It's Crafters Companions obviously recommended paper. My favourite is the Tonic Ultra Smooth White. And the reason I like this is it doesn't take me long to saturate the paper. So if I have an area I'm working with, like this, you can see my saturation is already occurring. These classic markers are refillable as well, so you can refill as necessary. So you can see I'm already getting a really nice amount through, and it gives me a really nice smooth blend. So if I'm doing this, there is really no drag on the paper. I'm getting a nice smooth lay down of my colour with my pen. It's a very tactile experience. It's very hard to show in a video when you have something so tactile. But I'm going to try a little bit of gold over the top and see how we get on blending out the bottom, which was not really how you're meant to blend. But I just kind of want to show you that if you change your mind, you can. And you can see that I just get that really nice smooth blend. Look how kind of ombre that comes out. So you can see, and if I worked on that blend, I could smooth out this little bit here. If I look on the reverse, you can see the place where it's blended really nicely, I have the saturation in the paper, and the place down the bottom here that isn't blended so nicely, I don't have that saturation, and I don't get as much leakage through either. So that's particularly why I like the Tonic Ultra Smooth White. Now your other mainstream option, before we get on to some of my others, is the Express It paper. So this is a paper that Copic recommend. It is really, really nice. Again, I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to start with my yellow like I should. So this one is ultra white. It's very bleached. It really doesn't have any drag at all. It's super smooth. When you feel it, it'll almost feel a bit like Yupo. The reason I don't like it as much, A, it's the ultra white and it shows everything else up. I just feel it's as smooth as it is. I still feel that my pen drags in some way. It catches somewhere. I'm not entirely sure how or where that kind of occurs, but to me it's just, I don't know, you'll find a paper that you really like and it'll be your personal preference. So I'm just blending this out. And of course this time I've actually done it in the right order too. And you can see there again, I've got that really nice haze going on. I've got some good saturation in the back. Lots and lots of things there. So they're kind of your 3 mainstream options. So you have the Crafters Companion Spectrum Noir paper, you have the Tonic Ultra Smooth White, and you have the Copic Express It. My favourite is the Tonic Ultra Smooth, and I'll add some links for you as well. Plus we have a paper coupon this month at Hedgehog Hollow. So if you do want to try it out and stock up, or you're maybe doing our marker challenge and you want to try it out, we do have a coupon for you to be able to try that paper out. Now, a few more kind of off-the-wall ideas for you. So you can, of course, use your markers on Yupo. You could use them on Manga paper. There is a specific comic Manga paper, and all of these alcohol markers are designed for Manga use. So, again, this is going to have really nice saturation. So your marker is going to go on there. I'm using the chisel end just because it lays down more ink quickly. You're going to feel more dragging, but when you actually start to colour, you can see how quickly this fills in. It's going to saturate a lot quicker, she says, having only scribbled a couple of times. But it does saturate a lot quicker. It doesn't have a coating on it like the other papers. So you're going to saturate much, much quicker. You see how smooth that looks already? And I've really not done much colouring already. And that's the advantage with the Comic Manga paper. It is a little bit creamier, so it's more into those yellows. I don't like that as much. And I find if you are a new alcohol marker colorist, that coating gives you a little bit more time on those smoother cardstocks to do your blends, and they're going to give you an easier blend as well. It can be a bit disheartening when you're blending and you don't get that perfect blend straight away. So same with mixed media paper. The difference really between the two from a colouring perspective, I find mixed media paper is only a £98, Comic Manga is £150. So you can find that out. If you want to know the difference between all these different poundages and GSMs, I do have a course with a download. Again, it'll be linked in the video description for you. You can check it out. Koh-i-Noor Bristol Smooth, that will behave in the same kind of way as Comic Manga paper. All perfectly good papers. If you have any of these papers, they're going to work really well for you, but they don't have that coating and you just might get a little bit frustrated. That's the only difference. Same with something like the Stonehenge Colours, absolutely works, but not my favourite. However, a couple of off-the-wall ideas for you. We have the Tim Holtz Alcohol Ink Cardstock, and we have some Ranger Yupo paper. Now, both of which might not be things you actually thought about using your alcohol markers on, but you totally can. Now, if I do it here, so this is my, so this is like the glossy cardstock. This is the alcohol ink cardstock. You can do this. You could add blender solution over the top. You can add isopropyl alcohol over the top. You can do some really cool things, and you can create backgrounds with your markers and your marker refills. And you can see here, like, look how much time, because this is, it is actually porous alcohol marker cardstock. This is one of the most porous cardstocks in your craft room, but you see how cool and how nicely does that blend. I mean, you've gone from light to dark to light, and you could keep blending, you could make a background, you could stamp on top of it, lots and lots of options. And this is going to dry because it dries with alcohol inks. It's exactly the same thing. So another option for you, of course, you could take your blender pen and then bleach some back out again. Lots of options in there for you. And then one other one we have is a Yupo. Again, you can stamp and colour on here. Great for practicing on too. You can also do the same with some other substrates that we cover in the challenge. But, you know, I can lay it down on here and something underneath it. Oh, of course, my paper piece that tells me what it is. I'm like, something's rubbing because I can feel it. But you can see, you can lay your colour down. You could have blending solution. You can isopropyl alcohol it. You can do just like splodges of colour. What I mean is, like, do like this, and then put another splodge next to it like this. You know, do those kind of backgrounds, and then spritz it with alcohol. That's going to move that colour around, and you can create some really cool backgrounds. So you can try those kinds of things out as well. So there's some off-the-wall ideas for you, but they're my top 3 as well. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. As always, don't forget to hit subscribe, and I will see you again tomorrow with another awesome tip. I'll see you then. Bye.